it's a weaponization of our integration with the United States, of our trade and wider economic integration.
First of all, I mean, we kind of knew that Trump was going to, it's August the 1st, he was going to come in with these tariffs. What do you make of the 35% on Canada? And in real terms, what does that actually mean?
Well, it depends on which goods and services it applies. If it's going to leave out most goods and services which are compliant with the previous trade agreement, then it's not going to have a big negative effect. But if this 35% tariff that's going into law very in minutes, or going into effect in 20 minutes, if it applies to all Canada's exports, then it would be devastating. But I don't think it will, and the current 25% tariff only applies to goods that aren't covered under the previous trade agreement. And most goods are covered. So most goods are going in from Canada to the United States tariff free, except for steel, aluminum, and automobiles.
Trump,
So,
sorry,
sorry,
carry on.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Trump has obviously said that he's open to negotiation. This is, of course, the way that Trump works. So it's unlikely that this will be the final outcome.
Yeah.
Do you think as a strategy, this is working from Trump's perspective?
Well, the I think more than the tariffs, it's the creating uncertainty that is toxic for business, toxic for our exports, for any country that's heavily dependent on the United States. And Canada is the most dependent on the United States for its exports, and then Mexico. And so the tariffs, if there was a tariff of 15 or 20% or 10%, and it was just stable, then markets adjust and companies adjust, the business sector adapts. But it's this constant uncertainty. You just don't know what's coming next. Is this the final? And on top of that, Canada and Mexico have something that other countries don't have. They're facing the renewal of the free trade agreement, which Trump renegotiated in 2019. And so we have that looming over us as well. So this is just these deals that are being forged. It's gone from Trump, as you know, Trump always chickens out, to Trump making these back of the napkin deals. And the question facing us is he going to, is President Trump trying to extract concessions from Canada, as he's done from the EU and Japan, by getting them to commit to spending on U.S. military equipment, on U.S. energy. So we just don't know the details yet, but we'll see tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be an agreement by tomorrow.
A couple of things that Trump has talked about, of course, he's for a long time talked about, excuse me, he's for a long time talked about the amount of fentanyl coming over the border and blaming that as being, it's a scourge, and saying that this is a real issue and this is one of the reasons for the tariffs. He's also talked, of course, about the recognition of a Palestinian state.
Yeah.
Trump likes to use trade as kind of a crowbar for other things, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a weaponization of our integration with the United States, of our trade and wider economic integration. And these tariffs, the 25% tariff that's going to 35, it's called the fentanyl tariff, and less than 1% of fentanyl that goes into the United States from other countries comes from Canada. And more than that, what's not talked about a lot is all of the legal pharmaceuticals in the United States that have had fentanyl, or the OxyContin or oxycodone, all of these pharmaceuticals, which have also in some cases done a great deal of harm to Americans. And so there's the illicit fentanyl, but there's also all the legal fentanyl that has found its way into the system, and caused overdoses as well. And that's not talked about a lot. It's almost as if the only thing that the Trump administration talks about is the fentanyl that comes in from other countries.
What Do you think other chances of, I mean, you talked a moment ago about if there was a stable tariff of 10 to 15%, Canada could kind of suck it up, essentially. I mean, that would still be a huge win for Trump, but in some ways that would make Canada feel okay. It's quite a clever game he's playing.
It is. It is a clever game, and he's playing this divide and rule game, and it's very clever in the immediate to short term. Long term, I don't think this will be good for the United States and for the American people. But the word is, and I used to work in the Canadian Treasury in the finance ministry. The word is that the ultimate goal is to have a 10%, 10 to 15% global tariff. Now, I think Canadians and my own strong preference would be no tariff at all. But if it's 10 to 15, and that applies equally to the rest of the world, it will drive up costs and it will drive down demand somewhat, but at least it won't make us uncompetitive because it's applying to all countries.
I know when Trump first came out with his board at the White House with all the tariffs on his chalkboard, lots of Canadians were understandably very angry. They started boycotting US goods, saying that they're not going to go to the US. Is that something that's continuing?
Yes, in fact, travel to the United States year over year, it's fallen, every month since January, February. And for the last month for which the United States and Canada have data is June, and it's down 33% from last year. And, I'm in the States now, and I've crossed twice in this year, in May and earlier. I had no problems coming through the border, but it's created, the trade war that was initiated by the Trump administration, and also this talk of making Canada the 51st state. That's really, put off a lot of Canadians from coming down to the United States.
And you say that you're in the US now. Is there a price for consumers yet for tariffs? Has that started to feed through in the shops?
It has, but it's such a large economy here, and they're getting, a lot of what's purchased in the United States by households is consumed here, and but there's been a positive impulse to inflation, but it's less than 2% of the overall impact. And so I saw a study today that said if all of the tariffs remain in place, it will drive up the price level of the United States by 2%. So it's not, it's significant. It's a couple of $1,000s a year per household, but it's not the sharp increase in inflation that some economists were talking about.
And in Canada, the economic impact for Canada if 35% sticks?
If 35% sticks and it applied to all goods crossing from Canada into the United States, that would have a significant negative impact on our economy. That would probably push the Canadian economy into recession. And when you think that a third of our economy is exports, and 75 to 80% of those exports go to the United States. So we export 20 to 24% of our economy to the United States each year, compared to 6% in the European Union and 4% in Japan. It would have a very large negative impact if it applied across the board.